Hello, this is Dear, and welcome to another video. Today we're reading Chapter 2 of Hermitcraft Mayhem. As you can tell from the title video, this is the next chapter of the current installment of the story. And, if you haven't read the other chapters, yeah, you might run into spoilers, but in this case, probably not. So, if you're new here, hi, there is a playlist in the description if you want to follow along through there, or if you'd rather, and a link to the next video when it's available. But yeah, I also have a full playlist of the full Clockwork Chronicles universe related stuff. No, I don't expect you to watch it all. Don't need to, but if you do have a question, I might be able to answer it. So yeah, let's get started. Bdubs peered over Impulse's shoulder, watching as the older hermit dug into the innards of the knoll they'd found. It had long since been deactivated, but Bdubs still believed there was something they could learn from it, like creating their own. Certainly not how I would have built this, Impulse muttered. It's so messy. Looks like somebody puked a rainbow in there, Skiz giggled, standing on Impulse's other side. Bdubs was seated in a chair next to their fellow hermit at the table. Yeah, Impulse nodded, glancing over his shoulder at his best friend. Skiz had not left Impulse's side since the older hermit had woken up after the attack of the robots. Bdubs couldn't blame him. Skiz had really thought that robot looked like was Impulse. I wonder if this guy knew what he was doing. He must have if he made something you can't even crack, Bdubs pointed out. Impulse shook his head. This is bizarre, but I think I got it. So we could have a potentially working null of our own, Skiz asked hopefully. Impulse sighed. That's the plan. I just have this feeling that they've already found ways to work around it. So. They always seem to, Bdubs agreed, as Impulse pulled back some redstone wires from the back of the device. But it's only fair that we do the same thing. But walking in through the back door like it's no big deal? Impulse shook his head again, glancing warily toward the kitchen door, which was closed. Bdubs swallowed nervously, feeling Impulse's fear rubbing against him. I'm not going to let them hurt you, Skiz promised, matter-of-factly, wrapping an arm around his best friend in a gentle chokehold. Impulse chuckled, pulling away from Skiz's partial embrace. I'm sure everything will be fine. Most of our biggest enemies are dead or locked up. Or haunting the living, Bdubs pointed out. Impulse lifted an eyebrow. Have you seen him recently? No. Me neither. Good, Bdubs replied. I don't want to see him again. In any form. I doubt that's going to happen, Impulse groaned. So long as they have any portion of Gerald's blood in anyone. Sure, Kate may not be a working candidate after what Richard did, but there are others. Way more than just Robert Sharp. Bdubs shuddered at the man's full name. The man that had captured Grian, Tango, and Impulse, bringing Tango and Grian to RJ, or Richard jargon, for interrogation, while taking Impulse as a decoy to deter anyone from checking in on Grian. Impulse had barely made it out alive, thanks to Scar's meddling and Jem's quick thinking. Now the man was locked up, unable to cause them any trouble, so long as no one let him out. Do you think they'd break Sharp out? Bdubs asked wearily. Impulse shrugged. He's a strong ally. I can't see why Carnivore wouldn't want him on his side. It won't be easy, Skiz said simply. For any of them now. They have their ways. the defectors, Impulse said, prying at the wires before shoving them back into the machine. With the right arrangements, they'll comply. Rose wouldn't let them, Skiz insisted. If she was in charge, yeah, but she's not anymore, Impulse replied. Carter is, so once he finds where Dan hid Robert, he could easily stage a jailbreak. You worry too much, Skiz teased, punching his friend gently on the shoulder. It'll be fine, you'll see. We'll crack down on this null and make it useless, then we'll be on the same page again. We're never on the same page, Impulse sighed. He closed the bottom of the gadget, screwing the back in until it was secure. Bdubs, you got the materials ready? Yep, as a matter of fact, I do. Good, we're going to need them. Bdubs didn't hesitate, pulling the redstone sugar box toward him as he grabbed pieces of metal, glass, and redstone, putting them on the table. He didn't stop until everything was set and ready to go. Impulse nodded in satisfaction. Can you help me with the outside of the machine while I work on the inside? Yeah, you want it in any particular way? I don't care, as long as it works. Skiz snorted. Ain't that the truth? Bdubs couldn't help but smile as he got to work. He attached a glass screen to the metal pieces that had been chiseled to the perfect size. I didn't know you were such a good metal worker, Blake, Bdubs complimented, noticing the younger man by the entrance that led to the front door. The boy was leaning back against the wall. I had a good teacher, Blake replied with a shrug. I took a class on metalworking. Thought it would be a useful skill to have after all of this is over. That depends, Skiz said. You don't need to make as many weapons. People still need tools, Blake replied. Polishing old ones or making new ones. Right, of course, Skiz agreed. Your teacher did a great job. Blake shrugged. I was asked if I could help, so I did. I had time to kill. Impulse chuckled. I do appreciate it, Blake. Anytime. What else can you do that you aren't telling us? Bdubs asked curiously, giving the boy a lopsided smile. Blake shrugged. Nothing you don't already know. Right, Skiz giggled. You're always full of surprises. Someone's got to do it. Hopefully that doesn't take as long as the chip did, Impulse replied, quickly changing the subject. This doesn't take as long as the chip did. Quickly changing the subject. Quickly change the subject here. I spent all day and night working on it with Tango. It's simple enough, Bdubs replied. You have the easier job, Impulse pointed out. I've got to do the itty-bitty details. You're doing fine, Bdubs said simply. I can pitch in if you need a break. Thanks. Me too, Skiz said with excitement. Impulse chuckled. Thanks, buddy. Bdubs smiled. How have you been sleeping the last couple of nights? Oh, fine enough, Impulse shrugged. No nightmares, at least. Which, strange. Strange, Skiz frowned. I usually have a few horrible flashbacks, Impulse said quietly, focusing his attention on the wires in his hands. He tortured me in front of Sam. It was awful. No, Kate saw and didn't want to tell me, Skiz said gently. Should not to worry you, I guess, Impulse sighed. You're my best friend, Skiz said firmly. I would have done anything and everything to get to you. Impulse smiled weakly. Yeah, me too. I'm not interrupting anything, am I? Another voice entered the room. Bdubs looked up, surprised to see Green in the entranceway, standing in front of the kitchen door. You can come in. We were just passing time. Impulse gestured for the hermit to come closer. Green crossed the room. Curiosity etched in his dark eyes. Bubbles and I are cracking down on creating a null of our own. That's cool, Green nodded, clearly intrigued by the other hermit's words. I wanted to start working on it before the lookalikes decided to make their move, Bdubs said. Maybe they didn't want you to get close and turn them off, Skiz teased, nudging Bdubs playfully. Bdubs chuckled. Yeah, baby. I'm just glad you two are okay, Green said quietly. Nothing more than a concussion for me, Bdubs shrugged. Yeah, it could have been worse, but it wasn't, Skidsby boasted. Yeah, Green agreed, looking toward the curtained window. Nothing unusual today? No signs that we're being spied on, if that's what you mean, Blake commented. Don't worry, we were careful. Never doubted it, Green said, flopping himself onto a nearby armchair. I'm expecting a report from Carl later today, actually, Blake replied. I'm in charge while Matthias is recovering. People are good with that this time, Green asked quizzically. So what? I don't care. There's not much they can do about it anyway. This place is heavily secured. Right. Green glanced over at Impulse. Safest place in the world. One of, Blake corrected. Doc and Mumbo both have secure bases of their own. So does Zed. Zed? Huh, well, Green nodded. How did you know that? Some of us still do the nightly call-outs, Impulse mused with a wink. Green blushed. Yeah, that's true. The other hermits have come up with a pretty good plan in case of any emergencies, Blake added. Where people can go, what to do, the typical things we also have here. So it's not just bunkering down at the fortress? Impulse raised an eyebrow. Blake chuckled. Not everything goes to plan. We all know this. But it is better to have a plan than none. That's reassuring, Skids replied. Anything stopping them from just walking in through the back door? Impulse asked. I was thinking of something that was always on, redstone-wise. So if they turn it off, it would trigger. Bdubs suggested. So pull it, cheese. Impulse's eyes widened. Bubbles, you're a genius. Oh, I know. Is there any way I can help? Green asked. Let me think it over tonight, Impulse said, looking over at Green. His expression was calm. We may need help with digging out an area. Green brightened. That's good. Not sure I want to be busy with assistant duty again if you'll have me. Impulse laughed. You're always welcome, G. You know that. I'll figure out something. We still need to be careful, Blake warned. You know we will, Green said calmly, folding his hands on his lap. We're going to need a lookout anyway. Shifting gaze. Blake sighed, but Bdubs could see that he was smiling. And so we're looking up, even though that what was ahead was still uncertain. They stuck together. There was nothing Conifer could do to stop them. So that's the plan. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, next week we will peek into the dream world. Let's just say. Just sneak peek. Why not just add a little sneak peeky there? Get like that up. I don't know. But yeah. See you guys in the next one. Whenever that might be. Bye.